That was a powerful beginning. I am intimidated and ready to go. Thank you for that. Welcome back to the Brutal Review. I'm Dan. This is Kev. With the new hair over there, very nice. Is that a red look, or am I just seeing like a reflection up there?
There's a slight tinge of red in it. It's just from the dye color that they use to get back to my more natural color. So for the time being, I get a little extra zazz.
Zazz. Gotta zazz it up. Yeah, I'm over here in my shirt that makes me look like a juggler or something, but whatever.
Rocking that robe like, baby.
Yeah, it does look like a robe. Okay, so we have an interesting show today. I was going to throw my article in the bonus, but I think there's enough of a thing, especially because we're going to be covering one of the bands that ties into this whole issue. I think that we could just kind of make a super long episode because it's going to be valuable and cool. But first up, I need to put out a disclaimer that this week especially, we're recording very quickly after last week, so I haven't heard a lot of the stuff that you have been putting in the talking points. So all of this is going to be new to me. Who do we got up first?
So nothing new.
Hey, shut up. I brought you Enforcer last week. This changed your life.
You did.
Don't tell me.
You gave me that delicious speed metal. In fact, so much I had to rock the Blind Guardian tonight because I've just been on a speed metal kick ever since listening to that Enforcer one again.
I'm telling you, man. My picks are quality, not quantity. How's that?
Exactly. I'm here to regurgitate as much as possible. You're like, here, let me give you this filet mignon.
But first up, we got ERRA, or just ERRA.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about these guys. What do you got?
All right. So these guys are a metalcore band out of Birmingham, Alabama. They've been around for a good 10 years or so, probably. They've been just, doing their thing, just supplying some pretty decent modern metalcore for the longest time. This is their first album on a new label called Unified. I had actually never heard of them. They're apparently an independent label out of Australia, but they seem to be a pretty big deal in metalcore, actually, because they have Northlane, In Heart's Wake, Architects, Beartooth, Silent Planet, just as like a couple names under their label, which are all pretty massive bands in the world of metalcore right now.
Yeah. I've definitely heard of Silent Planet. But yeah, that's interesting. Once you find the puppet master, you start to connect the dots. Yeah. It's all a conspiracy. Metalcore.
Yes. But yeah, this one, I actually really like this album because I know a lot of metalcore has been pushing more kind of similar like we talked about last week with the whole A Day to Remember thing in the Patreon bonus episode.
Yeah.
A lot of metalcore is pushing in that more like radio-friendly Imagine Dragons kind of route.
Right, the poppy transition into the 2020s. It's strange.
While some bands have good success with it, like Architect's most recent album, which came out a couple weeks ago, was very similar in that vein. But they're doing well with it. I'm at the same time, I kind of like some of the bands that are just sticking more to the traditional metalcore side and just delivering solid music at that.
Yeah.
These guys definitely kind of took after August Burns Red in that it wasn't all just breakdowns. There was a lot of intricate guitar work, good leads. They do have a lot of big, catchy, clean vocaled choruses that like tie things together, kind of give it a bit of extra dynamics.
Yeah.
And I just think that what they just do really well. And this album just knocked it out of the park. It was the first album I listened to on Friday, and it just set the whole mood for the week. It's just a total banger.
Nice. Classic metalcore. Also, a little bit of housekeeping before we play this track. We've decided to say FTP and just bake in the audio from here on out. We're going to copyright be damned.
Metalcast.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, whatever.
Rebellion.
So, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not the fact that I don't want to edit, but yeah, either way.
Kind of stealing that Architects riff a bit, but it's good stuff.
I love this.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, they bring those catchy choruses in. Really just help tie it together.
Okay. So, I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. Okay. Namely because, and this is just power of suggestion here, but have you ever heard either Pendulum or The Chemists?
Yes, you showed me Pendulum.
Okay. So The Chemists are very similar in the sense that they are drum and bass, like sort of electronic first, with this sort of metalcore element on top of it. And this sounds like one of those bands did the Doom soundtrack. This. It's a very weird.
It all comes back to Doom.
It comes back to the Doom soundtrack. I'm telling you. But no, it's cool because this is not what I expected to hear today, and it's very cool. Can I skip ahead a little bit?
Yeah, go for it, dude.
Okay, cool.
Even more doomy.
Ooh. Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for this. This is a nice little gift that you gave me just now. Thank you.
Enjoy. It's a very good album.
ERRA. Is this their first one? I assume so because it's self-titled, right?
No.
What?
Like I said before, they've been around for like 10 years. This is their 5th album.
Oh, okay, just saving the best name until number 5.
Yeah, I saw a good comment saying that like this is the most ERRA-y album that they've done. It's like everything that you'd expect from them, so it's fitting that it's their self-titled.
Oh yeah, I love whenever bands do that. Like our boys Bang Camaro with the track Bang Camaro off of the album.
Yep.
Bang Camaro.
Bang Camaro.
Okay, Wisdom of Mountains. I saw a little bit of these guys' visualizers, you know, that kind of thing, and I think the vibe is going to be there. They're very branded, right? Intrøspect. Tell me about these guys.
Yes. So they just released an EP last week called Midnight Sun. They're out of Sydney, Australia, which is funny that they aren't signed to Unified since they are Australian, but actually they're from Dreambound.
Okay.
And I had to look up what Dreambound was, and this is pretty cool because it's actually like they list on their website that they're an organization formed to promote and support up-and-coming melodic bands from all over the world.
Oh, that's cool.
So it sounds less of like a traditional record label and more of like, hey, we like these people. We're going to do what we can to like prop them up kind of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they don't actually handle the distribution at all? Is that what you're telling me?
I think they do, but it sounds like they're going in less of a more like traditional route of like what you'd think of as a record label. I don't know. That's what I was seeing though when I was like looking up a little background on Dreambound. It seems cool. It seems like they're trying to go a little different.
Yeah. I need to look into these guys.
Support that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so this new EP, Midnight Sun, it's got that kind of like progressive mixed with djenty style riffing with female vocals. It really falls in the realm of like Spirit Box, As Everything Unfolds, and like Ginger. To a lesser extent, some of Ginger's like softer music, but it definitely has, you know, where it's got the like slow, melodic, progressive vibes, breaks into like heavy djent riffs with some screamed vocals on top. You get a lot of like really soft, atmospheric parts. You know, it just has a really good mix of everything. Like it was just a very, very good listening experience. 6 tracks, clocks in at almost 30 minutes, if I remember right. So it's almost still like a full length, despite being an EP.
Well, extended play, you know, that's what it is. That I don't know if you knew this, but that is what EP stood for. Extended play.
I no music loser.
No, it's
I'm
cool.
The expert here.
Hey. I'm the vinyl boy, okay? You only stream. No, I'm looking forward to this. I've grown to find that I enjoy djent more than I thought that I did, because I think my introduction to it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but Meshuggah is considered djenty, correct?
Meshuggah they're not just considered djenty. Meshuggah's style was what was ripped off and turned into what we know as djent.
Right. So
they are the actual like grandfathers of the style.
Let me go full pitchfork here and say that my introduction to djent was proto-djent, and I like what it's turned into more than I will sit down and listen to Meshuggah, if that makes any sense. So
That's it. We're done here.
Podcast
Podcast over.
Not saying that I don't like Meshuggah. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But what I am saying is I like the branches of the tree that is Jint. So yeah,
the more progressive vibes that have been brought in instead of just straight like just aggro all the time.
Yeah, experimentation, right? Anyway, let's take a listen here. I like the visuals already.
Yeah.
You want more? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Wisdom of mountains.
I feel like I should be doing yoga to this.
There's always wisdom in the mountains.
Oh yeah, of course.
Let's roll out our mats and, namaste. I like the silhouette style.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's simple, but it's sick. Yeah. Woo.
Nice
Like it.
flares.
Like it. Very sick. Okay.
Yep.
First thoughts. The music video is a really well done version of what it is. And a lot of people try to do the atmospheric, and that's a word that I use a lot on this podcast is atmospheric, but I mean, it's a good go-to. A lot of people try to use the stock footagey, natural type of layering thing, but not well all the time. This is a good example of a well done, simple music video, right? It's you can tell that time was put into it, but it's also not complex, right? So I'm looking forward to this, man. The extended play is gonna be rolling after this, and I'm gonna be doing some yoga to it for sure.
There you go. Yeah, and there definitely are heavier parts too. I don't know if you skip ahead a little more, there might be some of the parts that actually have like the heavier guitars and the screaming and stuff. So it's not all just like peace zen music, but
well, sure.
There's definitely
let's go to the
good parts in there too.
Sky Blast. Curious. There we go. Yeah.
And I don't know if this song has screams in it too, but she does occasionally scream as well. So
nice.
You get a nice mix of everything.
You gotta appreciate somebody that can do both. Also, I'm not saying that it's not Zen music because I'm picturing like meditation in the middle of a terrible hailstorm. That's the image that comes to mind on this, right? Yeah, it's like these ping pong sized balls of ice are hitting your face while you're just like, So yeah, man, good stuff. Intrøspect. Looking forward to it. All right. What do we got here? Oh, are these the guys? These are the guys. Yes.
Yes. These are the ones that will segue in. So
cool.
Do you want to discuss the article first or go in?
No, let's talk about the band. Let's talk about the band and then we can talk about the whole situation.
Yeah, so Seraph In Travail, these guys are a very awesome like symphonic black / death metal band out of Philly. Their new album just came out last Friday called A Black Death Incense. And what's interesting about it is that not only is it self-released, but it's also not on any of the streaming platforms. I could only find this on YouTube and Bandcamp.
Okay.
They might have it a couple other places, but those are the two I saw it. And what's even more interesting is their last album is on all the streaming services even now. Yeah. So you can't find the new one, but you can find the old one.
I wonder why
So-
YouTube, if you're going to keep it off of the streaming services, but we'll talk about that in a second. Also, just a meta comment. I love how we're going from, nice, atmospheric, zen, tranquil, genty boys to Philadelphia black metal.
Right.
But no.
You got to keep it interesting, man.
I mean, it's got it all. It's got the black metal text. It's got the plague doctor. It's got the word black in the title. Here we go. Yes. Yes.
Rise, my children. Rise.
Yes. Love it. What else we got? Let's see. Hang on. I gotta find it by title. Okay. When They Crowned You Queen. Here we go.
They do a very good mix of like black metal and death metal.
Yeah. It's a thin line to tread, but they're doing it. Like I said, usually don't enjoy edgy black metal, but this is my shit. So well done.
Hell yeah.
Seraph,
That's what I love to hear.
Seraph
I
In
love that I
Travail.
keep serving you up black metal you're actually into.
Hey, it's you got to have that guy. You got to have the broker. It's like the people that aren't into spicy stuff until you give them the good spicy stuff, right? So yeah, man.
I'm just in the corner like, this is extra good and grim.
I'm picturing like a waiter with corpse paint on. That's kind of what I'm. Like a knowledgeable librarian with corpse paint. That's kind of what my mental image of you in my life is. So well done.
I can feel those vibes.
So interesting situation with these guys because YouTube and Bandcamp, right? Trying to intentionally get away from the streaming services, which brings me to a really cool article that I found, right? Before I get into this, is there anything else that you want to say about the band?
Yeah, I would just say, like they definitely fill into this role well. It kind of makes you think of that like Cradle of Filth, a little bit of early Abigail Williams, brings in that heavy orchestral symphonic elements. They had someone that played both cello and violin on the album. So it just brings along that extra, little touch on top. As I've mentioned before, I'm a big fan of just throwing symphonic music in the mix. It just really, I feel, elevates everything.
No, I think we're in hardcore agreement on that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think these guys definitely should be way bigger than they are because their music is really solid and they have 3 really good albums out. So definitely go follow them on Facebook. Get their music off Bandcamp. Give these guys heavy support and spread the word because they're awesome.
Buy merchandise. Yeah, Seraph In Travail. Go check them out. Definitely. This brings us to a really cool article that I found. I haven't been really aware of some of the stuff that's been going on with the Union of Musicians, and I know that you can see this, and I know that it's very hard to read on this YouTube thing, but it comes from an artist that I follow from the 80s and 90s called Lorena McKinnon, okay? And it's strange that I say her name on a brutal metal podcast, but she's basically like world folky type of vibes. She plays like 5 instruments. She's from Canada, does a bunch of like, old school folk music. And she recently stopped doing live stuff and stopped producing her own music. She has her own label just because she wanted to get ahead of it. Like way back in the day, she was like, I don't want to be hogtied to some other dude who's handling my money and distribution. But she recently stopped doing all of this stuff to basically be an advocate for musicians against technology, which is strange. But she released this article recently about how the Union of Musicians is organizing a Justice at Spotify thing, trying to end a bunch of lawsuits that are being put against artists by Spotify, increase to a penny per stream, increase transparency in the process, all of this stuff. And she basically is saying, like, while this is better than bootlegging and, you know, the Napster days, it's still falling really short of where it needs to be. So what is your opinion on this?
So, you know, this is definitely a pretty deep and heavy discussion because, you know, what is happening with a lot of artists is that some labels caught on to the streaming thing really early before most artists realized about it and kind of like snuck deals into the contracts for like, you know, we pretty much control your streaming. And so a lot of the very low royalties that come through from Spotify are because of like the labels in Spotify. Some labels actually get better deals for their artists through streaming than others. So it kind of comes down to the individual contracts, but it still is definitely very true that Spotify does not give a lot of heavy royalties. I have seen, I think it's a pretty high number at this point. I think it's like every 1,000 plays equals how much money an artist would get for an album being sold on average.
Yeah.
So when you compare it, you know, like 10,000 albums sold is over 100,000 plays.
Right.
So like if everyone is just going off streaming, you know, it doesn't add up as much as if people were actually purchasing albums.
In the article, she says that it's 10 cents per 1,000 plays is the average. And she's comparing it. She's comparing
I had
it.
My number very wrong.
No, it's all good. It's just right here in front of me. I figured I might as well just jump in. She's comparing it to the 25 cents per song average of the CD days that you would get paid out. But again, there's a discrepancy there. So anyway, please continue.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument made because some people say, well, if someone's always streaming, then the artist is getting money for every single time they listen versus like a one-time buy. But I've seen a lot of metal artists say that the streaming numbers do not equate to album sales. So
Right.
it's been I've seen a lot of bands that still are like, please buy our shit. And I think that's where vinyl has become a big boon as well. And bands are really pushing vinyl hard now.
Right.
Is because like it's actual physical album purchases.
Right. See, here's the thing for me, because I'm a avid user of Spotify. Like it's one of the best personal purchases in my mind as a consumer that I've done, right?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that there is that back end sort of experimentation of how low can we pay our boys going on. And I don't really know what the answer is, because I feel like streaming isn't going anywhere, and streaming is the hopeful end all be all of the music industry. Like there's no way that we're just going to do away with like digital stuff. It's just a matter of how it's streamed and how it's monetized, right? I will say a penny per song, a penny per play is pretty damn high. I do have to say that, because that equals a good amount, but also, you know, I guess you can do it, you know, so.
Yeah. So that a penny per play might be getting more towards the numbers I was originally thinking, which might actually turn out a little more decent. Where I think this is actually a very interesting conversation. And shout out again to Finn McKenty on the Punk Rock MBA. I'm very avid fan of his, so I get a lot of my stuff from him. But he brought up the points, or he's brought it up in multiple videos, that if you look at the hot trending young artists and what, you know, the Gen Z is checking out and making popular these days, most of them don't give a flying fuck about like traditional albums. And this model and this whole argument of streaming versus record sales is honestly becoming a kind of like outdated model in general. Because if you look at, you know, a lot of the like emo rap, you look at a lot of the like, you could almost call it like trap core stuff, a lot of the like big popular, you know, underground stuff, even with bands that have crossed over from like metal into doing like rap stuff. It's a lot more about just big singles. Right. And the streaming services are there more just to give an introduction to you. And I've heard it too a lot with Spotify, that like bands getting on Spotify playlists does more for their career than just having an album out, and does like way more than they would for like selling all those albums.
Right.
So I think it's less of like, oh, this is X amount of dollars versus this amount of dollars, and more just looking at streaming as like one of the tools we have for getting yourself out there to more audiences, and looking at other ways you can grow revenue, less about making it off the physical like sales versus just getting your name, your brand out there, getting people merchandising, coming out to see your shows when you can do shows again. I think people just need to look a lot more in the direction of it's a tool more than a source of revenue.
Yeah, and that also
brings
me to an interesting thing about music discovery that you brought up earlier, is the non-traditional routes. TikTok is surprisingly effective at creating viral stuff. Like, you can drop a sound on TikTok, get 1 million plays on something in no time. People are just like looking it up, It's just, again, unfortunate that the melodic black metal community from Philly doesn't necessarily have a TikTok presence yet. So maybe we should start that. Seraph In Travail.
Yeah. Get on TikTok. Get to the Zoomers. But it honestly is very true. And it's one of the downfalls of metal, is that we're very stuck in our ways and are very stubborn and don't want to adapt to change. And we'd rather just paint it as stupid kids being into stupid shit instead of being like, there's something to this. Maybe we should look into it.
Remind me to tell you about my TikTok series that I'm going to do whenever I get a sword. So, maybe we can jumpstart the metal TikTok community. Yeah. Next up,
hell yeah.
Dune. Yeah, very very insightful discussion, boys. Well, I think we really solved a lot of problems there. So yeah, thank you for tuning in.
As always, let us know what you think in the comments. We'd be very interested to hear y'all's take.
By all means. I also kind of want to set up like a voice line, because I think that would be really fun. Let's talk about that. Unless you're gonna troll it, don't troll our voice line. Okay, Dune. I assume that's how you say it, because it's cult.
I'm pretty sure.
Good. Which track?
There's a big trend in metal of using V in the place of U.
Of course, but it's also one of those things that I'm not going to like assume and be like, oh, you fucking idiot. It's Davoon.
Yeah, it's actually divine, you dumbass. I was a very big fan of this one too. Just first song in, and I'm like, yes, let's go.
It's Metal Blade.
Yeah, boy, that's how you know it's quality.
Bugs. Oh, they've got that video synthesis stuff going on. I love that. That's a cool art form if you've never looked into it. Steve. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Very good. Very good.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. I'm a big fan of like creature effects, so this is doing it for me.
Yeah, I wanted to show off the more like progressive side of this too.
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff. I could tell that they are a bunch of big nerds because they're called Dune, and they also had, the guy from Hellboy 2, like, the what's his name? Abe Sapien, right? Yeah, that's the vibes I was getting from this. But no, I love this so far. You can always get me with some good video synthesis. It's a cool art form, and they were using the heck out of it at the beginning. And I like the progression, right? It's good. Tell me about them.
Yeah, these guys are they're out of Edinburgh, Scotland.
Oh, excuse me. Now I get to correct you. It's Edinburgh.
Oh,
it's
Edinburgh.
It's Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. Yeah. This is their new album, Internan Inca. Again from Metal Blade. This is their second album. These guys are to me, I get a very big mix of like The Ocean combined with like old school Baroness, where it's that really kind of like sludgy guitar tone on top of very like melodic progressive riffing.
Mm-hmm.
You get that very good mix of that clean vocals and then those heavy like brutal growls like we heard, and these guys just have a really awesome atmosphere and vibe with them. So
yeah, a big mix of stuff.
I very much like this album. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say a big mix of stuff. Going from synth to progressive. Yeah, it's good stuff. Like I enjoy it, and it sounds like it would be a fun thing to sit down and listen to. It's not always like doing something and listening to it. This one sounds like you gotta sit down, take your time with it, right? So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, really, really absorb all the different pieces of it.
Yeah, definitely. Also, not many Scottish bands that I could think of off the top of my head besides, our boy Chris Bowes, but
definitely lesser known for their metal for sure.
Yeah, but hey, always good to see. And I love that I just turned my attention back to the video and see this like Power Rangers villain just emerging with no context.
Yep. Coming out to play like, I see you're playing death metal. Go on.
Good stuff. Okay, cool. Ready to move on. Depths of Hatred. Fastidious imitation.
This was awesome. One of my favorites of the week. If this really harkens back to my old school days from back in like high school time. So this really hit me in the nostalgia feels. This is a deathcore band from Montreal. This is their new album, Inheritance. Found out it's actually their first album since 2014, so it's been a good 7 years since they've dropped anything new. But this just really gets back to that early kind of like 2008 era of deathcore, a lot more just with like the straightforward death metal riffs, the blast beats, just very fast and aggressive, less on the, more breakdown centric, slower, like downbeat, era that we've seen deathcore kind of transition into a lot more these days.
Right.
And what I thought was extra interesting with this album was that there was actually a pretty heavy use of clean vocals, which usually clean vocals is very rare in the deathcore world. Like obviously some more bands started to experiment with it in more recent times, but it used to be almost non-existent. And outside of one band that I could really think of, and it's actually what the clean vocaled sections really reminded me of. This might be off your radar completely, but did you ever listen to All Shall Perish?
A couple of times, yes. And I know the sound, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Their third album, Awaken the Dreamers, they experimented with clean vocals on a couple of the tracks, including the title track, Awaken the Dreamers. And every time the clean vocal parts came in, that was all I was hearing was, oh, this is Awaken the Dreamers. And it just brought me back so hard. So I really, really enjoyed listening to this album.
Nice, dude. You'll love to see it. And I am curious to see if I get that same vibe of high school Kevin, but, here we go. Yep, there it is. It sounds like Halloween in Lake Jackson, Texas. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Taking you back.
Yeah. No, it sounds like something that we would just cruise around listening to, you know? So, yeah. Good stuff. Where'd you say these guys are from?
Montreal.
Oh, Montreal. Okay, cool. Very cool, man. This is off their new album. Let's see. Inheritance. That's right. Yes. Fastidious
On Prosthetic
Imitation.
Records, another great, metal album or metal record label.
Very sick. Very sick. Looking forward to it. I think my winner here, dude, like, I'm looking forward to ERRA. That really hit me where I needed to be hit.
Yeah.
ERRA?
I'm surprised on that one. I didn't think that one was going to be the one that you were all about from this week.
Yeah, I don't know. It just did something. I'm going to go listen to it now, you know. Yeah. Oh, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I think we've had a nice productive show here, boys and girls. We talked about the evils of streaming. We've talked about Scottish metal. Like, what else is there?
We've checked every box that you could ever need. Philadelphia black metal.
All 2 boxes, yes. As always, leave us a comment below if you are having any thoughts, questions, concerns, prayer requests, or anything like that. We'll be sure to get in touch with you. Batum, I want to hear your feedback on the show. We are still experimenting with format and everything. As obvious, if it's not obvious to you, we're learning as we go. We're building the rocket ship as it flies, right? So, yeah, man, let us know what you're thinking. Kev, what is up next week with you? Oh, there he is. What is up next week with you? Are you still down to do it on Tuesday? I don't know why I'm doing this live. I'm just curious. Like, is there anything that you're looking forward to in the future that may or may not be on a weekly basis? Like, what is your next release that's really got you going?
It's really hard to get a lot of good information on what's coming ahead, so I mostly just wait for Friday and be like, surprise, unless I like really know what's coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries.
But let's see if I pop in on the old. There's a new Necronomicon album coming out next week.
Oh, cool.
This Friday, so that'll be pretty brutal. Necronomicon's pretty sick, so that'll be dope. A band I've never heard of called Genghis Tron.
Oh, yes. I was going to tell you about Genghis Tron. Yes. I listened to them, and they're actually pretty damn good. I saw them coming out too. Genghis Tron. I can't wait to listen to that next week. Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
As always, man. Yeah, thank you for listening. Let us know what you think of the show. Kev, do you got any parting words for the people?
Support Seraph In Travail because they are fucking sick and they deserve it.
Support all the boys, man. If you heard a band that you that you really enjoyed this week, then by all means find a way that you can help them continue what they're doing, because it ain't cheap and it's sometimes not fun whenever you can't go out and do live shows, right? So and Bandcamp does a thing on Fridays, every Friday, if I'm not mistaken, where if you buy something on Bandcamp, 100% of the money goes to the artists. And so if you're in the digital download world, and you just and especially one thing that's nice about that is you can actually get like FLAC and WAV format. So if you're a super audiophile and you want the uncompressed audio, you can usually get those on Bandcamp. So that's a good way to directly support the artists and give them all your monies. Yeah, man. Give them all of the formats. FLACs, waves, OGs, TIFFs, .pngs, all of them. Whatever you want, man. .swifts. Swifts don't even work anymore. Look at that. Guys, thank you for listening. That's the extra hipster thing. I've got a file format that you can't even listen to. I know, cool? Right? Yeah, it's Adobe Flash 4.0. It doesn't work anymore. All right, guys, thank you. Until next week. Later on, stay brutal.